Have you ever stumbled into a moment of joy so pure, so unexpected? It almost stopped you in your tracks? Not because something extraordinary happened, but because something very ordinary suddenly felt deeply meaningful. Maybe it was the sound of birds on a quiet morning, or the way a stranger smiled at you when you needed it most. As we age, we often expect joy to come from big things, milestones, vacations, success. But what if joy lives in the gentle spaces we tend to overlook? Today, we're going to explore the surprising places where people over 50 are finding genuine happiness. No magic formulas, no fancy products, just stories, insights, and gentle reminders that joy is not always found where we think to look, but it is always available if we know how to see it. Meet Carol, 66, a retired librarian who used to see her daily routine as dull and repetitive. Every morning, same tea, same newspaper, same porch view. But after her husband passed away, those routines became her lifeline, and over time, they became more than that. They became sources of peace, even joy. She began noticing the small things, how the morning light hit her mug, how the wind shifted the trees, how her breathing deepened with every quiet moment. What once felt mundane became sacred. In this stillness, she found emotional grounding. Her routine wasn't just habit, it was healing. There is joy in rhythm, joy in knowing what comes next. For many of us, especially as the world around us feels uncertain, returning to a familiar morning walk, a cup of coffee, or even a daily crossword can become not just routine, but a personal sanctuary. Frank, 72, had always been the quiet type. He kept to himself after retiring, and rarely left the house other than for groceries. One day at the community garden, he struck up a conversation with a woman named Joy. Yes, really. She was 68, full of stories and passionate about tomatoes. They began planting side by side. Week after week, they shared recipes, family stories, and jokes. It wasn't romantic, just deeply human. Frank later said, "I didn't know how lonely I'd become until I wasn't anymore." Sometimes, the joy we need most comes from the people we never expected to meet. From chatting with a neighbor to befriending someone in a hobby group. Relationships after 50 don't need to be lifelong to be life-giving. Every new connection is a chance to feel seen, heard, and cared for. Nature has a way of holding space for us when words fall short. Sarah, 69, had a rough year. A surgery, financial stress, and an adult child going through a divorce. Overwhelmed, she started walking daily in the nearby woods. No headphones, no phone, just the sound of her feet and the rustling leaves. She didn't set out to find joy, but it found her anyway, in the quiet, in the bird song, in the sudden appearance of wildflowers she hadn't noticed before. Being outside, even for just 15 minutes, reduces stress hormones and gently shift the brain toward calm. You don't need a forest. A small park, a tree-lined street, or even tending to houseplants can reconnect you with something steady and beautiful. In nature, joy whispers. And when you're ready, you can hear it. John, 75, spent years feeling bitter about things that didn't go his way. Missed chances, broken friendships, health issues. He said his mind used to be a museum of regrets. But after a health scare, he began working with a counselor who helped him ask a simple question. What would happen if you let it go? At first, it felt impossible, but he began writing letters he never sent, talking to people he hadn't spoken to in years, practicing forgiveness, especially with himself. Over time, something shifted. Not only did he feel lighter, but he also noticed joy creeping back in. Sometimes, joy has no room to enter, because the heart is too full of what no longer serves us. When we release old weight, resentment, guilt, even outdated goals, we make space for joy to settle in, not in fireworks, but in peace. Deep fulfillment. Margaret, 63, always wanted to play piano but never had the time. One day, she bought a second-hand keyboard and started practicing 10 minutes a day. 6 months later, she could play her favorite song. haltingly but beautifully. And she cried. She said, "It wasn't just the music. It was proving to myself I could still begin again." Joy often hides inside small accomplishments. Planting something and watching it grow. Fixing a broken lamp. Finishing a book you put off for years. These moments may seem small, but for the soul, they're monumental. Success after 50 isn't about big wins. It's about staying curious, trying new things, and allow yourself to be a beginner again. The joy of becoming. Even now, many people say that after 50, time speeds up, but what if joy isn't about having more time? It's about truly being in it. Ruth, 70, began practicing mindfulness after her daughter gifted her a meditation app. At first, it felt silly, but slowly, she noticed her coffee tasted richer. Her phone calls with friends felt deeper. Her walks were no longer just exercise, they were experiences. Being present means noticing life as it happens, letting go of multitasking, savoring what is. And in that, we often find joy blooming like wildflowers on the edge of an ordinary path. It doesn't require anything new, just a gentle return to now. Joy doesn't always wear bright colors. Sometimes it's quiet, it's in the background, it's waiting in routines, in nature, in a single brave moment of letting go. It's in that smile from a stranger, or the first note of a song you finally learned to play. Where have you found joy lately? Especially in a place you didn't expect it. I'd love to hear your story in the comments, and maybe your story will light the path for someone else, too. If this video spoke to your heart, please like it, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might need a gentle reminder today. That joy is never lost. It might just be waiting somewhere quiet, hoping you slowed down enough to notice it.